Welcome to Season 3 of the Casual Camping Podcast, your home for the best camping discussion both in and out of the field. Here are your hosts, Tim and Ade.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Casual Camping Podcast. This week, it's me, Tim.
And me, Ade. We sound the same, Tim. You know, people are always saying to us, I can't tell you apart at all, but, you know, hey!
Oh, you know there's more than one of us here, though, because we often talk over each other.
We do. If people come here for precise information and good editing and good content, you're in the wrong place, people. Don't switch off. We're only joking. We are amateurs at this. We are not broadcasters. Well, we are broadcasters, aren't we? We're content creators, Tim.
We are. We're influencers, you and I. I'm often found in a beauty spot with hardly any clothes on and three people trying to take pictures of me, and I'm trying to look all seductive in front of a waterfall.
Is that there, Tim? I've yet to flounce off having an argument with the other half going, I'm a content creator, you know.
Well, I was in Cornwall last week, and the amount of times that I got Alex to stop and go, could you just take a photo of me doing this? Could you just take a photo of me stood here? Could you just take it? And she was like, I am so sick of this podcast.
And she don't even listen, Tim.
She don't listen.
Maybe why she's sick of it. So, you have been, I was about to say, what have you been up to? But you've been in Cornwall and you got some great pictures.
I had an incredible time in Cornwall. So, not camping, sadly, but it's, went with my partner and she booked a really nice little like hobbit cabin thing. Actually bigger than that. So when you got inside, it just looked like a house, but from the outside, it looked like a wood panelled sort of cabin thing. But it was great. And
Inquiry
really...
minds want to know: do you get 2 breakfasts in a hobbit cabin? That's required.
But everything is made of potato.
Those people across the Irish Sea might be booking that one. It's like making a sheep joke to the Welsh. That's all I'm saying.
It's fine. It's fine. They think it's funny. No, it was cracking. We had great weather. It's still great weather over here in the UK at the moment, and we had brilliant weather. We managed to do a couple of decent coastal walks and a bit inland as well, and saw loads of wildlife. Saw seals out down in Cornwall for the first time.
Was he singing?
It's from a rose. You're there again with your up-to-date music references.
Seal who? Tim, on the Fantasticometer, how many Fantastics would you have given it? I've just invented that. I'm quite pleased with myself.
What does the meter go up to? 7?
Ooh, I think it's a 20, isn't it?
It's a 20. Or is
well,
it,
there was quite a lot on the Fantastic. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Oh, God, have I done it again? Have I done it again?
No, you didn't do it again. But that's now the thing. That's Tim's measurement, other than Danny DeVito's, the Fantasticometer. So anything that you do from here on in, let's go to Tim and get his Fantasticometer.
Well, it was well over into the red. Into the red Fantasticometer.
Yeah.
It was
the high
really
teens
full.
then, I think.
Yeah. It only would have gone further had I been camping at the same time, but it dropped down ever so slightly. But it was epic. It was a really great few days away out in the countryside, out by the coast. I love a coastal walk. I love to see the sea, and I managed to tick off my bucket list a stone circle. It's
Ooh.
and I know last year when we went to Burke and Will's Woods to see Rob, we drove past Stonehenge, which is, of stone circles, it's like the king of stone
Yes.
circles. But we only drove past on the road, and I got to kind of see it. This, I actually got to stand in the middle of Stone Circle, and that's great. I wanted to do that. It's like 5,000 years old. It's brilliant.
I wish I was there with you, because you know what
The
happens when you...
the spirit of you there was there, Ed.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. What was I drinking?
Brandy.
Oh, brandy. No, here's a little trick for anybody, that when you're in a circle like that, or some kind of ancient monument, stand next to somebody and slightly hum under your breath. And say, can you hear that?
Oh, I'm just glad you weren't there, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, probably fair, really.
Ed,
Probably.
ruining other people's holidays for years.
Yeah.
Oh, making them better. There must be people all over the world who've gone home and gone, I was in this stone circle and there was just this hum and this other guy could hear it. And I was like, oh my God. And those stories will live on for generations.
I went to an English heritage place over the weekend, and there was you had to find some pictures in this big house, and one of them was an old fella who we called Grandad, with a soup spoon, and the question was, "What do you think he's eating?" And they went gruel. I put down kebabs.
With a spoon, you heathen.
But I think when they got those answers back, they'll have been confused. But,
Or they'll have thought, oh, this family's brought a 12-year-old with them. Oh, how lovely.
It just goes to show the mentality that I have about stuff.
Yeah.
Mischievous, Tim, some might say. Mischievous.
Were you sent to the mischievous step yet again?
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Other than spring has sprung here in the UK. I hope it's springing in other places. It's probably getting a bit colder in those places south of the equator. But you see,
yeah, look at you. That's learning there.
Even monkeys learn, Tim. Even monkeys learn.
It's taken you 2 years to get your north and south hemispheres the right way around, but you've got well done. I'm proud
honestly,
of you.
I'm still struggling with my left and rights, but I think it's electric shock therapy that's doing it.
We actually do that at work.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Not me. They won't let me do it. Can you imagine? That'd be great fun. But no, they do still do that.
Wow. So been in the garden an awful lot, and we are planning a road trip next week.
Yes, we are camping, aren't we? It's camping not this weekend, but the weekend after. We're heading north, aren't we?
Go into the land of our forefathers up in
Yorkshire, where we drink tea.
Yes.
And probably some beer.
Oh, yeah. And we were having a discussion yesterday about what kind of excellent meat that we might actually feed ourselves. We've done the leg of lamb. Do we do pork? Do we do chicken? Do we do beef?
Yeah.
Answers on a postcard. The jury's still out. We're not sure what we can cook, but we know we can do lamb.
we can do lamb, then we can do most things. As you pointed out, though, we're both really colourblind, so neither of us will be able to tell if the chicken is actually cooked. So if you don't hear from us again, it's because we died.
Brilliant.
I quite fancy the pork really, and see if we can get a bit of crispy crackling around it. It's in the old
Yeah.
Dutch oven.
Yeah. The thing about a leg of lamb when you do it on, and it takes all that time, but actually less messing about,
Mm,
is actually the mint sauce, the garlic, mayo, the vegetables, the wrap that you've got it in. I think is
mm,
just it's a very nice meal.
yeah,
Whereas pork, bit of applesauce, and you're shoving it in your gob really in a roll, aren't you?
yeah. You
Which
know,
isn't that. There's no criticism.
I like a hot pork roll. It's bit of bit of
I've heard the
steady,
rumours, Tim.
steady. bit
That
of
one's for you, Grammar.
bit of stuffing, bit of sauce, bit of
Tim,
gravy.
save it for only pans.
What was it?
The
White
subscription
chicken, white
service.
cow.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
God.
gosh, there was another one I was trying to think of the other day. Oh, that was it. You know the whoa, Black Betty,
Yeah.
ham or lamb.
Ham or
Can't
lamb.
hear it any other way now.
No, can't. Ham or lamb. And you know, listeners, you're humming that now, aren't you? And if you're in a stone circle, the people next to you are scared.
Yeah, let's do a survey, ham or lamb, next time. We could do gammon it up. What do you have with gammon? Pineapple.
Pineapple, fried egg.
Ooh.
Pineapple, fried egg, some chips and peas. Yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, we've digressed as usual. I just to prove to ourselves that someone is listening. I've got a mediocre 5-star review.
Brilliant.
Well, it's a social shout out that I'm taking as a mediocre 5-star review. So this is from Becky Holder.
Bex, how
Bex,
do?
Bex Holder. She says, huge congrats to you two on. We had a milestone recently of doing our 75th episode.
What?
Can you believe it?
We can talk some nonsense.
I think we've just proved that. Huge congrats to you two. I found your podcast last year and I could not be without it. Keep doing what you do. You know, how nice is that? How lovely is that? It's
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. That's very, very kind of you to take the time to message us that. If you too want to be get a shout out, you know, send us a mediocre 5-star review. You can do it via the link in the footnotes of the episode you're listening to now, or you can go to our any of our social media accounts and send us a direct message, or do like Becky did and just put it as a nice comment, and we'll steal it and call it a mediocre 5-star review.
Yeah. We don't have any rules, Tim. Really?
No,
Do we?
no, there are no rules. There are no rules.
Yeah.
Other than we got a new rule this week that everyone who's listening has to recommend us to their mate. So find a friend who's not listening and tell them about the podcast, and increase those numbers for us, because that's going to do us a massive favour. Thank you very much.
Yes. Oh, you're on point this week.
I know.
Gosh.
Production value, you see, it's going up. It's going up.
Oh, what? Are you getting investment? I'm not. What?
No, I can tell you now with all honesty, we've not sold a lot of t-shirts.
Take them down, Tim, and then the ones that have gone are collectible.
I tell you what, I'm going to change them. So some people will have seen on our socials, if you're in the Facebook group chat, that Laird Krug Laird. He's still. I think we've scarred him really talking about warm beer. But he's actually put together a little caricature for us of Sparky Burns carrying a beer that's on fire, and I am so putting that on a t-shirt, and that's going to go in our Etsy store when I get 5 spare minutes to do it. So thank you very much, Laird. That was incredibly cool that you did that.
Laird, we'll give you tuppence from everyone, and when you're over here, we'll keep those beers warm.
We've got to introduce
how he has the time. Have you seen what he does on a weekly basis? He's in the gym. He's doing martial arts. He's just an inspiration. Well done, sir.
He is. And at the same time, he's able to put some caricatures together for us. And very, very, very lucky to have listeners of the like. Thank you very much, Laird, over there in the US.
So.
Yes, here we are.
Spring's coming, Tim. Spring's coming. What are we going to talk about this week?
Well, spring's coming, and we're going to talk about nothing to do with spring. So we're going to talk about.
Thank God! I thought we were doing a gardening podcast. Then I was like, oh, where have I turned up?
Spring is coming. People are getting out camping, and if you've come to this episode and you haven't been camping before, go back and have a little search, because we did a great episode on first time camping. It's still our most downloaded episode. It gets downloads every single week. And go and have a listen to it, because it'll give you some top tips of how to get into camping. Today, though, we're talking about axes, saws, and sharpy, pointy cutting tools is what we're talking about today. And being very careful not to use the kniff word.
Short sword.
Short sword. Let's call it a short sword, because the bots will take us down if we talk about kniffs and short swords too much. So we're talking about saws, about axes, and short swords. I love that. Well done. Did you just think of that?
I did, yes. I'm listening to a fantasy fiction thing on Audible at the minute. There's a lot of short swords on that.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I've long been a big fan, and I think ever since I was a little boy, you can't have more. Like, I could have any amount of short swords. Am I allowed to say it at all? No.
I think we probably can. Maybe
can. Don't put it in the notes.
We won't use it in any of the notes for the episode.
Yeah.
It's
good.
So knives. Knives. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
From about sort of 8 years old, I was just obsessed with them. I got my first little penknife, not in a bad way.
And that's why the episode gets taken down.
So yeah, before we go into it all then, because there is a lot of news and reports about sort of knife crime in the UK and things, appropriate behaviour in an appropriate environment is what we're talking about, not a everyday carry, being in the middle of London with knives or whatever on you.
Yeah. It's about it's about it being a tool, and using, as with any tool, using it for its appropriate purpose, isn't it? And as you say, its appropriate environment. It's inappropriate use of any tool is going to cause trouble or injury to you or someone else. And short swords are no different. It's yes, there we go. Disclaimer done. There's another disclaimer at the end just to cover us completely.
Just to cover us, yes. So, I think a knife is one of the most useful tools on a campsite going. Not only do you maybe have to light fires, chop sticks, things like that, but you also use it in conjunction with maybe fire steels, and various other things.
And cooking. I'm always like,
Well, cooking,
open up some
yeah.
packaging. It's just like, eh.
Yeah, yeah. Guy lines that might need to be shortened, or yeah, firelighting stuff, making feather sticks, just you name it. It's part of. It should be in your camping box, I think.
To be honest, when I am camping, depending on where I'm camping, but the vast majority of the time, if I'm camping, I do have a folding knife on my hip and
Yeah,
in a sheath, and if I'm in a like a bigger campsite, or it's a campsite sort of in or close to a town, I'll tend to have a multi-tool on my hip rather than a folding knife on my hip. But it's always on my person, and it's
yeah,
always just kind of there, because the amount of times that you go to do something, you think, I just need the knife, and if you've left it in your camping box, it's like it's really annoying. If you're, like you say, if you're holding onto a guy line and you're trying to tie something off, and it's like, I just need to cut this. It's
yeah,
like you got to let everything go so you can go and get your knife. Just have it on you. Just have it on you. It's so much easier.
yeah.
So I normally do have it with me, because it's such an essential tool to going camping.
Well, and I think years ago, old fellas in the UK always had a knife with them. Little
Yeah.
pocket knife that you did something, you had it no matter where. Whereas over the last sort of 20, 30 years, going into pubs, clubs, or whatever, if you even had like a little box cutter,
Mm,
just one of those miniature ones that I used to have on my key rings and stuff, you just couldn't get in places. And even
no.
going into places like, I know, parks and stuff, you get a bag check. Going into the NEC, you get a bag check.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go, "Oh, is that a knife? Sorry, you can't take that in," which is fair enough.
Mm,
But I just forget. I always find a knife really, really useful.
yeah.
When I am camping, though, um, I've got about sort of 5 or 6 knives that come with me. I know you can only use one knife at a time, but I like to share the love. I don't play favorites.
I think I've got a photo from about 4 or 5 years ago when you had like three knives on you, and you were like, you were
I
just
was Well, I was like, I like a little knife belt, and then I've got like a Leatherman with a leather holster, and then I also want like a axe holder off my
Mm.
belt, and it was like, yeah, it's Daniela Westbrook all over again, and her, you know, how many implements on a belt is too many? I don't know.
All right, Batman.
I'm Batman. But yeah, sorry, Daniela. I'm sorry to
She-
pick on you.
she's not listening, Ed. She's not.
She,
She's not listening. If she is listening, she's definitely not going camping.
yeah, I mean, I
unless
wouldn't have
unless
put.
Burberry bring out a tent, then she's all over it.
Then she's all over it. Come on, let's get the guys back. You never
Oh,
know. Yeah, sorry, Daniela. Anyway, so yeah, appropriate, but it's a kind of everyday tool.
mm,
Even splitting wood, making feather sticks. But if you've got a fixed blade knife, you can split logs down a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Use another log to separate out, make some kindling.
Mm,
I just those are all the things that make camping really quite nice for me.
yeah, yeah.
How you fill your time when you're out in the field. Um,
Have you seen those? Those you must have seen those things on like Instagram, where it's like somebody, or on Facebook, where somebody posts like a picture of 18 survival items, and you can only pick four. Which four
yeah,
are you picking? And it's like, I'll always pick a knife.
yeah,
And I know they're ridiculously stupid things, but I still do them when they come
yeah,
up, and I look at them and go, well, I would take a pot so I could boil water and drink, and I could cook. And actually, if you've got a knife, that replaces about 14 of the other items on there,
yeah,
because with
yeah,
a knife you can make all those other things. And not that I'm in a survival environment at all, but a knife is so easy and so so vital because it's such a useful tool because it allows you to make other tools.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the other stuff on those ridiculous things, they've got one use and then they're kind of spent. It's
Yeah.
it's So here's a question for you: knife or axe? If you could only take one, which you're going to do?
I think it's got to be knife.
Yeah, you see, that is the right answer because
Yeah.
actually, like a good quality fixed blade knife with quite a thick blade to it and a good edge, like you say, you can split logs with that. You can do quite a bit, and if you can make yourself a bit of a wood hammer, you can actually
Yeah.
hit some weight behind it, and you can actually, it's
Yeah.
effectively, yes, it's not an axe. It's not going to replace an axe, but if you've
Yeah,
only got one
and we're
tool,
not talking massive tree rounds. We're talking like bits of,
no, you're not bringing down a redwood.
yeah. If you're in a forest and it's raining and stuff like that, a branch that's maybe as thick as your arm, you can split in two with a knife,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
good fixed blade knife, and then however wet that wood is, you're going to get to dry wood on the inside, which
yeah.
is then great for you. So, there's a good top tip there.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
if you're stuck somewhere, if you just got to take one or the other. I too have several knives and have owned several knives for many years. But I've got a couple of fixed blade knives, and they're not expensive ones. They're mass produced stuff, and because you can very quickly spend silly money on fixed blade knives,
Yep.
quite quickly. I would really like a really good quality fixed blade knife, but it is a lot of money to do that, and I'd probably just hurt myself and be a bit daft because that has happened several times in the past. But I don't tend to use those fixed blade knives when in me kind of everyday camping, and actually depending on the camping trip, I don't tend to take them either.
Yeah.
There might be one in the camping box, but it tends to live in there. And actually, the last time we went camping, I didn't take them at all. I really like Opinel knives, and we're not sponsored. Blah 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 blah. I've used Opinel knives for ages. They're a French folding knife. They're a whoa. What are you laughing at?
I'd love to know how a French person says that rather than a Yorkshire. Opinel?
I
Oh my
can't
God,
imagine.
sacre bleu, he's murdering it. Opinel.
I was going to say, how do you think it's pronounced? I can't think of it being pronounced anything else other than
There'll be
Opinel.
something silent, won't there?
Oh yeah, a bit Opinel.
Oh,
Yeah, there'll be more phlegm involved. But I really like Opinel knives, and I've
yes.
got a number 8. They come in different sizes. I've got a number 8 carbon steel, and I had a really nice leather sheath made for it, and that kind of lives on my hip, and it keeps a really good sharp edge. And sorry, we're laughing because my other half is climbing ladders behind me.
She's popping in the loft, Tim. I thought she was flying at one stage because all I could see was her levitating.
She can't hear what you're saying because I've got my
No.
headphones on. But yeah, no, she's not levitating. She's just going up into the loft. It's bless. Yes, it's we
She's going
digress.
into the loft dungeon.
Steady on, steady on. That's in the basement. God, it's a good job she's not listening.
Sorry, Alex. Sorry. It's just cheap laughs. What can we do?
Yeah. All we got is cheap laughs. But no,
Yes.
so Opinel knives, I've got a number 8 folding carbon steel blade. It keeps a really good sharp edge to it, and it's super useful. And it's a locking, it's got a really unique locking system of Opinel knives, and so it's safe to use as well. So it locks closed as well, which most lock knives tend to lock open and then you close them. I do like the fact that it locks closed as well.
Well, what I've started to realise, so I have my go-to knife is a Mora knife. Beautiful thing, not very expensive.
No.
Similarly to you, I would love a handcrafted knife with a curly birch handle and, but a lot of those ones where they concentrate on the thickness and the full tang blade that goes through the handle and stuff, if you're hitting it with another piece of wood to make all those things. What they're also doing is not giving you so I think with certainly at Opinel and a lot of the folding knives, they've got a very fine graduating blade. So it's really obviously sharp, but which are really, really good for making feather sticks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Whereas those bigger blades, I've started to realize that actually they tend to make them very sharp, but there's a real steep graduation in that cutting edge, which then is quite difficult. You're having the blade at a steeper angle than you actually want to do. You've got to make feather sticks, you've got to have it at quite is it an obtuse angle?
No, don't know. I'd say shallow.
Let's go shallow.
Shallow angle.
A shallow angle. Just so that you can get a lot of very fine sort of things that'll catch a flame really, really quickly. But I that's the thing that I've kind of noticed with those very expensive fixed blades that I'd like to go with. I've got to find one that's got much more of a graduating blade to it, I think. Just so
we were talking to someone, weren't we, at the show we went to a couple of weeks ago, and you said that point to him, and he said, "Oh, well, you can just grind it down again and grind your own angle to it." And it's like, yeah, but if you're paying like 400, 500, dollars, euros, pounds for a knife, you can't. I don't want to then like start grinding it down to a totally different angle just for me. I kind of want it done for that price. But I'm sure if you're having a knife made, they'll make it to whatever specification you want. I would guess. I've never gone and talked to them about it because I don't want to waste the time, because I'm not going to spend £500 on a knife. That it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I dearly want one. I've got a couple sort of in my shopping cart, as it were, my mental kind of shopping cart. I go, yeah, if I was buying that, it is what I would get. But yeah, there's lots of different blades out there for those things, But yeah. And I use different ones, like you say. My go-to one when I'm out in the field camping, and yet walking around with a knife on your hip can be really frowned upon in certain places.
Yeah. It was really nice. We went to a couple of shows last year, a couple of festivals, sort of bushcrafty, outdoory festivals, and actually it was kind of nice that it was an open carry. Kind of thing, and most people did, and you kind of had all your toys and that, and nobody was being stupid with them. There were some kids who also had knives and were just whittling sticks and things like that. And again, it's about them being, everybody being aware that it's a tool that you use and you've got to be sensible with it. It was quite nice, kind of having, and actually,
it really was.
At one of those shows, I bought the Opinel 12, so I now actually have the 12 as well, which I don't wear them both at the same time because that would be weird, having an 8 and a 12 on the hip. But it's a much larger knife, and still a folding lock knife. And but yeah, so you can kind of carry that on your hip as well. And it's quite it's a size. It's obvious that it's a knife. It's clearly not a multi-tool, and it is, like you say, it is frowned upon in a lot of places. But not everywhere, and it is quite nice to go to those places when you can kind of show off all your toys.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, knives, I think very, very important. Now, depending on where you're going camping, and we talked a little bit last week about Camp Wild and
Mm.
people getting out into more wilder places. Those kind of more wild places are where you would maybe use some different tools. They have different rules about are they going to bring you some logs or can you actually
Mm.
take fallen stuff from the ground? We were at a campsite a couple of weeks back. There was a lot of fallen wood over the winter that was just on the ground, and you're able to prepare your wood a lot more, which is a great camp activity
It
for
was
me.
brilliant. I loved that.
Loved
Literally.
it. Just going and having a wander. Oh, I'm coming back with this, that, and the other. And for those things, that's where I think an axe or a saw really comes into its own.
Yeah, well, that weekend in particular, none of us actually, there was three of us, none of us brought a saw.
Rookie
And
mistake.
I know, and really, really stupid. I've got a folding saw, and I remember taking it out of my camping box and going, oh, I'm not going to need that. And we've
Because we're on a
got enough wood.
site,
Yeah,
weren't
we're on a
we?
site and we've got enough wood.
And
So
we're taking wood. So yeah, I did the exact same thing. And yeah, a saw was really needed.
yeah, yeah. To the point,
And
we had to go to the shop anyway and get some charcoal for the leg of lamb that we cooked. And actually, at the same time, I bought a bow saw because
yeah,
we really need it. It was seven. I thought it was a bargain. Actually, it was £7.
£7.
Seven
Can't go
pounds
wrong with
for a
that.
bow saw, and it just meant some of that thicker sort of dead stuff that we managed to collect. We could just process it an awful lot quicker, an awful lot easier,
Yeah,
and it was great. But yeah, rookie error. We forgot to bring the saws. You've got a
yeah.
beautiful bushcraft saw. I'm very
Yeah,
envious of your saw.
yeah, my book saw, which um, gets used when I go wild camping. It's a brilliant thing. It goes through wood like a hot knife through butter.
Mm.
And it's just a very lovely bit of kit to hold, to use. And yeah, anybody that wants to know what a book saw is, one, do a Google search. I'm sure some of you already are. But it's where you have so it folds down flat. You have one bit of wood that then goes in between two others, and then a bit of string on the end that you tighten up and gives rigidity to the blade. It's a beautiful bit of kit.
It's
And I've only ever used that when I'm wild camping because you find branches and you break them down.
yeah,
We didn't have that while we were camping at the last place. And so what we were doing, we're using the fire to actually break up some of those tougher logs that
yeah,
wouldn't snap, which is a good way to do it. But, it's one of the activities I love in
yeah,
a campsite,
yeah.
prepping the wood, getting the different sort of grey thicknesses of wood from kindling to, all the stuff that then goes on. It also keeps your campsite really quite tidy because you know what's going on. There's not lots of bits of wood that are coming out of the fire once
Mm.
you've gone through half of the wood. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we proper cleaned the section of wood that we were staying in. We did some proper tidying. It's
yeah,
and I know, a lot of places say you've got to leave some wood for bugs and things like that. We didn't touch anything that was obviously like decomposing or anything. Like, you wouldn't touch that anyway because it's never going to burn. This was a lot of, we only took the dry stuff that was obvious that we could clean up. But we properly tidied it up. And that first night when we hadn't gone and got the saw, we
mm,
had some real long logs, didn't we? That we were just feeding in and kept feeding
yeah,
in and burning one end, and as it had gone, just feed it in again. And that, if you have, like us, forgotten your tools, there are always ways to get fires and burn stuff. You just
yeah.
have to think creatively. It's but no, I do want one of those book saws. They're
Yeah.
really quite lovely.
It's one of those things out of all my tools, although I don't use it that often, because, At home, I get my wood delivered. It's already
Hmm.
neatly chopped. Uh, I do like to do that, but as I say, it's one of the activities of being on a campsite. And think about it, if you're going camping with your kids and stuff, here's a top tip. Kids have seen it on telly, but never actually had to do them. Get them going with a saw and stuff.
Mm.
Yes, they'll soon get sick of it and stuff, but it's those kind of things having a supervised play on big tools like a saw, like a bit of an axe, maybe, if depending on the age, or a little knife and stuff. That's the playground to actually give kids skills. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
getting skills from it, but I absolutely love it.
And it's don't want to labor the point too much, but it's about teaching kids that cutting implements are tools and they've got an appropriate purpose.
Mm.
Like you said at the start, there's a lot of knife crime at the moment in the UK, and there's a lot of knife crime in schools and injuries being caused to people. But actually, if you can educate kids that these are tools and that they have a purpose, and actually it might open a doorway into camping and being outdoors, and whether that's bushcraft or whether it's just forestry. It opens so many doors. Does
Yeah.
does just having those little moments with kids under, like you say, under very strict supervision, of showing them that actually this is what this stuff is actually meant to be.
Yeah. But
Whereas at the
I
moment, all
think
they're hearing is all the negative stuff.
yeah, and I think where do you get and learn knife skills? I talk quite a bit about feather sticks
Mm.
for the fires. I'm absolutely rubbish at doing them, but I'm learning.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it used to be like and there'd be like three little bits that had come off it. I'd be like, oh, that's it. And I'm getting better at it. You understand the wood that you're using. You understand the angle of the blade, how much
mm,
pressure, whether it's going down the blade or whether you're just pushing the blade into it. There's all those things, and you only get that over time.
yeah,
Taking bark off things is what I used to love,
mm,
and just understanding the differences of the wood. It can be real. You can learn as much or as little as you want to be. It can just be about switching off and just enjoying the moment, or it can be, a real teaching thing of this kind of wood is harder than that kind of wood.
yeah,
This one's
yeah.
easier. What are we burning today? I think when
I'm
I watched Joe Robinet, I'm always quite envious when he talks about in videos a while ago, he'd talk about what kind of wood he's burning. And I just think, yeah, I wish I knew what kind of wood I'm burning. I'm just always a little bit, thank God we've got wood. I don't care what it is. Get it on. Throw it all on.
I remember being at the Burke and Wills Wood last year, and and
They
they
knew, didn't they?
they knew because they'd been chopping. They had a lot of trees fall over, and then they cut some dangerous ones down, and they just didn't waste any time with the stuff that just didn't put out the heat. There's no
Mm,
point putting the energy into processing wood that's not going to it's not going to burn warm enough. And
yeah.
obviously different woods, it's not just about softwood and hardwood, but different woods give you a much higher burn temperature, and they didn't even process those trees, which I just thought
Yeah.
that's really interesting. I don't know any of that information, and we're nearly a year on from then, and I still don't have that information. So I probably need to go and have a look at that. But yeah, we're always learning. I'm rubbish at feather sticks. Still am. I love trying. I really love trying. My best technique with them though is not to use a knife at all. And more recently, I've kind of stuck my axe into a log, reversed and spun it round, and then drawn the stick along the axe. And
Oh,
I saw that technique used online, and I thought that looks a lot more stable, and
yeah.
I'm keeping my hands away from pointy sharp bits. So and actually I've been a lot more successful in feather sticks if I use the blade of the axe, but actually have the axe corner of the axe stuck in a log, so that's nice and stable and isn't moving. And the only thing that's moving is me drawing the stick that I'm turning into feathers. And it was great. It was, well,
Yeah.
I was, I got more than three. That's great for me. That's great for me.
But like I say, we every day is a learning day, and you can, it's something like that takes time to actually build those skills. I'm now blaming my tools, obviously, about the angle of the sharpness of the blade and stuff. But I think I'm onto something. I really do.
I think you probably are onto something, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I, I like you say, every day is a school day, isn't it? Every day you can learn, and even if you're really good, you're a big fan of Joe Robinet. I can guarantee that Joe Robinet has to practice those skills, and it's like a language, isn't it? If you can be fluent in French 20 years ago, but if you haven't used it in 20 years, you're not going to remember how to say more than, get me a cup of tea,
Yeah.
whatever that is. It's you got to practice these skills all the time, which is why it's good fun to, when we do go camping, it is nice to just sit around the fire and just kind of whittle a stick.
Yeah.
I do quite a bit of wood carving, kind of carving faces out of things, and it's just really, it's that muscle memory of holding a bladed tool and how to use it and what pressure to press on and
Yeah.
and all of that. And it, you only kind of know that instinctively by doing it all the time. And
Yeah, I wish I was doing it more. And then you've got, we've not really talked about axes, but axes are axes, and for me,
how many axes have you got, Ed?
I've only got the one, I have to
Yeah,
say.
it's a beautiful one though. It is a
Well,
beautiful one.
it is. I'm after a Northwood Forge splitting axe, though. The smaller
Yeah,
version. Definitely going to get one of those at some point.
it's a beautiful thing.
Um,
Beautiful thing.
but yeah, I was watching somebody the other day, and they were just splitting stuff, and I could see instantly, if you're splitting stuff, and you're doing quite a lot of it, the odd bit, whatever it is, but they were like, I think they'd talked to us at the NEC about
Hmm.
you've got to have things at the appropriate height, So if you're doing a lot of, well, maybe you want the bigger splitting maul that's got heavier and all of those things.
Mm.
But for a guy that's 6 foot, you need to be about a foot and a half off the floor. Otherwise, the power that you're doing, you're kind of losing it if you
Mm.
go a further angle and stuff. And that's the thing. If you're having to split stuff while you're camping, don't get your hands anywhere near it. I was seeing somebody that uses another
Mm.
stick to hold it up so that your
Yeah.
hands aren't anywhere near it. I've also seen where you lie a log horizontal along the ground and then
Mm.
have one up at a 45-degree angle so that when you swing, your legs are apart, but it comes down and pushes it against the ground. That's
Yeah.
a good way. Yeah, I'm teaching people to suck eggs here. I
No,
think, but
you're really not. So years ago when I first used an axe, I nearly took my finger off and went down to bone, and uh, and I did the stupid thing of, it was only a little axe, a little Fiskars X5, little tiny kindling axe, but super sharp. They keep a
yeah,
really super sharp blade. Um, and I was stupidly, I thought, well, I'm not putting loads of pressure on this. I'm not using loads of energy. I'm just like tapping these logs to split some kindling, and I just steadied it because it wouldn't stand up. I was holding the other side of the log, but I did hit it, and actually, when you bring in an axe down,
It's
it
those smaller
yeah,
ones just terrify me a little bit
yeah,
more because you're just that much closer to all of it.
yeah.
There's less weight in them. The handle's not very long. I've got a woodman's hatchet or something.
Hmm.
It's reasonable. There's a nice bit of weight to it and stuff. I would like a more of a splitting one, but I
Yeah,
don't particularly need to split that much wood. But
no,
just like to own these things. You know me, I'm a consumer.
yeah.
I see nice things.
What I do now, I've still got the X5, but what I do now is I kind of hold the handle to it, rest that on top of the log, and then use a log to kind of knock it on the back, and
Yeah.
then and so I keep my hands away from it. But literally, it's only a year or two ago, one of my friends was going to cut some wood and was doing exactly what I'd done years and years ago and was holding on to it and was hitting it. And I saw him do it a couple of times. I said, "You really shouldn't be doing that." And he went, "Oh, no, no, I'll be fine. I'll be fine." And kept doing it. And in the end, I went over and just took it all off him. I went, "You are going to do this," and pointed at my finger. And Stuart, friend of the show, was also on that same camping trip, and he went, "Yeah, I've got the identical scar on my finger because I did exactly the same thing when I first started using an axe. So stop doing that because you're going to cut your finger off." It's
Because we all do it thinking it's not going to happen to me. I
yeah,
can, I've stopped doing it since you did that because I'd done it in a similar way, and I just
mm,
think, well, just has to be millimeters out, and you've lost a finger
you've
or
lost a
something.
finger. These things are meant to be cutting through stuff, and they'll do your finger as well as wood. It's I do the thing now of I use another piece of wood to kind of hold it up if it won't stay static.
Yeah,
Or I prop it between a couple of other logs and use that. I still got the X5. I've also now got a Fiskars Norden N10, and I love that axe. It's not an expensive axe, but it's got a lovely hickory handle to it,
yeah.
and it's not a hand forged. It's a mass produced axe, but it looks beautiful and it feels really nice in the hand. And for what I need to do on a camping trip or a weekend or a trip away, it's infinitely more adequate than
Yeah.
anything else that I could possibly get my hands on. And I think it's a cracking, the
And
combination of those two axes is great.
yeah, and I think you make a really good point there, don't you? There is always some, really shiny, beautiful, new color, whatever
Mm,
it is. But there is also something out there that just does the exact same job,
mm,
but at a fraction of the price. And, whatever, floats your boat. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I don't know why I edge towards the more expensive thing. For some reason, there's a new Swedish saw company called Rox, I think, WORX, and they do a folding saw like you've got.
Mm.
And for some reason, that's 130 quid.
Wow. Oh my
and
word.
and it looks beautiful. And they're asking people, and I was like, oh, I want one. And I was like, yeah. Why don't you spend 30 quid on up in it? Up in there.
Up in hell.
Ew, up
Yeah.
in there. And
That is my folding saw. You bought
yeah.
me that, and it's great.
It's great, and I'm sure, not knocking, I'm sure there's a real reason why,
mm,
it'll be a forged blade, and I think it's a oak handle and it's bolted, you know,
it'll be a
but yeah,
beautiful crafted piece of kit, and
and yet, it just really appealed to me. I was like, oh, I want one of them, and I don't know why. I don't know why,
you
because
you
I can't
love
afford it.
you love all that bespoke handmade
I
stuff.
just love it.
You love all of that
The
stuff.
show off in me, I think. I think it's just sort of like, yeah, no, and I get really apologetic when people. It was like, oh yeah, no, I'm really sorry about this. I've just got a problem, but I know it.
The thing is, though,
I,
Ed, we've said it so many times. If one of us is spending, we're all spending, and you're the guy who's buying the bespoke, high end stuff. for all of us because the rest of us can't afford it. And I'm not saying you can afford it, but you're doing it. You're doing
I
it
definitely
anyway.
can't.
So if you're doing it, we're all doing it. So we're all very grateful that you get
Well,
this incredible stuff. And
didn't it feel good when Chaz bought the cooler that we all went, that's a really good
yes,
price. Somebody should buy it. And he went and bought it. I was like,
yeah,
oh, thank God somebody's done it. So, yes. And with that in mind, listeners, if you managed to make it to this part of the show, share your content. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. Comment on whatever you see. Forward us things that, me and Tim are constantly forwarding things that, have you seen this? And we most likely have because we get fed the same sort of stuff.
I've had a few things off Gash, off Gary.
Oh,
It's had a few things off Gash come through on Instagram this week. So thanks Gary for sending stuff to us. It's tag us in. Casual Camping Podcast hashtag. I'm sure is a thing somewhere. It's love to see what you're doing and what tools you've got and what bits and bobs you've got. It's it's share it in the community.
Yeah, I think so. And thank you for listening thus far. I think we're going to go for a minute mindfulness that might have come from the South Coast when Tim was in that there Cornwall.
It definitely did. I took the opportunity to record a number of minutes of mindfulness in different places, but yeah, here we go. So it's definitely taking me back out into the field because I was there recording it.
Welcome to the Casual Camping Minute Mindfulness. Let the sounds of nature take you back to the camping field.
I'm back in Cornwall. I'm literally back in Cornwall. Beautiful place.
Land of the pirates.
Land of the Cornish pasty.
Ooh.
Again, we're not sponsored, but Anne's pasties are the best. So, I'd happily be sponsored by Anne's pasties because they are incredible Cornish pasties. But,
wow. Yeah. Wow. There's another hour gone, Tim.
Is it really? Blooming heck.
Yeah.
Blooming heck. What are you doing this weekend?
I am planning for next weekend. I'm going to go a little bit lighter in my camping stuff. So once again, check it. It's a tent that I've not used since last September, maybe. So checking that it's all there. I'm going to use the swag. Don't know whether I'm going to use the bed above it, below it, sort of thing. Have it standing height, not standing height, but sitting height.
Sitting height, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, just checking that over. Make sure that I've got everything that I might need. Because camping. Although I can just throw things in the back of the van, I would like to make sure that I don't forget anything. And a saw is going to come with me.
Yes. I'm taking the Vord tent, the second-hand Vord tent that I did up last year and cleaned and re-waterproofed and restrung everything. So that's coming for its first trip out in the field, and let's see what that's like. Hopefully the weather will still be nice. If it's raining, we'll certainly be testing to see how good I was at waterproofing it. But So that'd be nice. So I'm going fast and light as well, and I'll still have loads of other stuff. I'll put a tarp up and put my kit under it, but I'm going with a small tent because we're just doing one night, aren't we? So
Yeah.
so it should be no need for all the big stuff, but so it should be fun. Should be good fun.
Yeah.
I am too prepping for that. Nothing else on really this weekend. Although we are this episode's going out on Friday. We're interviewing our first guest of season 3 on Sunday evening. Not gonna tell you who it is, but it's a really good topic. I think people are really going to like it, and it's a great guest who's got masses of experience in this area. So yeah, you'll have to make sure you listen next week as well, because that episode will be coming out the following Friday. But so yeah, a bit of prep for the interview so that we don't.
You
sound
little
like
tease, Tim.
I
You
know.
little tease.
I know. I just hope that we don't sound like complete idiots when we talk to a really experienced person.
Maybe we'll come from the point of view of, how do you do that then? There we go. First question, Tim. First question.
First question. There you are. There you go. That's your contribution.
Yeah. Who says I don't prep?
You do. This season, you've done more prep than I have. It's you come with notes.
Oh,
which is cool.
Shucks. I've been Ade.
I've been Tim, and don't forget, ask your friends to listen for us. It'll do us a massive favour. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Casual Camping Podcast accepts no liability and does not officially recommend any products or endorse any techniques discussed in an individual podcast episode or shown on Casual Camping Podcast social media accounts. Individuals should make their own informed decision and risk assessment of any products or advice prior to any purchase or use.